Ordinary People, Extraordinary Times is a photographic series chronicling the story of the COVID-19 volunteer response through a series of candid images capturing the efforts of local communities during this unprecedented time. From food backpackers to prescription delivery drivers, soup kitchen workers, telephone befrienders, and even online children's storytellers and dance class instructors, the series aims to reflect the breadth and diversity of volunteer efforts right across Northern Ireland. Now, Denise Hayward from Volunteer Now joins us on the line. So Denise, Volunteer Now has been going for 10 years, and I would imagine during this pandemic it's probably been the most challenging time you've had within 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been challenging for everybody, but I suppose we had to restart and rethink everything you do and how you do it and how you can keep people safe when they're helping and how you can get the word out so that people understand how to look after themselves and others while doing their best to help, so that by getting involved they weren't making things worse, either for them or for others. So it was just balancing all of that off and also trying to adapt to working from home and all of the changes that everybody's had to cope with in their lives over the last number of months.
Now, I've been reading lots of interesting stories about the volunteers, and you're actually putting together a series of photographs for a photo exhibition, aren't you?
Yes, and we wanted to do something just to pay tribute, not just to the people in these photographs, but to the thousands of other people who gave their time and supported their communities over the last number of months. We didn't want the just the outpouring of public spirit to be ignored or missed or in any way kind of moved on from without marking the occasion, really. So that's why we've taken the time to collect these photographs, to curate them, and to put together just a little bit of background about them, but also just to say in the context that it's a small snapshot of a much bigger piece.
So we're going to meet some of the volunteers in a couple of minutes, but just tell us some of the things that these volunteers have been up to in recent times.
So we've had everything. I mean, obviously there's the well-known ones about helping deliver food or delivering medication, but we've also tried to profile in the wee ebook a few of the sort of more unusual things, or perhaps things that not everybody would have heard of. So the fundraising efforts of some volunteers. I mean, we've obviously all heard about the Captain Toms of this world, but we've got our own homegrown versions here in Northern Ireland, and plenty of them as well, which is lovely, and especially at the moment when so many charities are struggling financially, it's really important. It's a really important role that people can play. Also storytelling and those kind of online activities and things that people can do just to take the boredom out of a day for somebody else. Telephone check-in and chat and befriending has just been a lifeline for so many people, of all age groups actually. And often, the volunteers who do it, they get a lot from that as well, because they're having an opportunity to, share their own lives with other people as well. So it's volunteering is rarely a one-way street. There's always a positive that people are getting from taking time, and I think probably never more so than over the last number of months.
And it's more than just about helping others as well, because some of the volunteers have actually found themselves in isolation during the pandemic as well, haven't they?
Yes, and we've had a couple of lovely case studies of people who were in exactly that situation and have reached out to volunteer with us to do the telephone befriending and things like that. And it's really meant such a great deal to them. Firstly, because they're not isolated by doing it, but also they're really playing an active role, and they're, even though they can't perhaps leave their house, they can still make a real difference to other people. And I think at the moment, obviously, we're all in that situation where our restrictions are maybe being increased, and again, we're going back into that situation where perhaps we can do less, but you can still do something. And I suppose I would always say as well, to look out for your neighbours and look out for the people who are around you, because that actually takes the pressure off other services. If we can all do our little bit in our neighbourhoods with our friends and neighbours and just be aware of the people around us and the support that they might need, maybe make that phone call to somebody you haven't talked to for a wee while, that can actually make the difference between somebody needing a service from maybe a statutory organisation or whatever, and somebody being able to manage on their own.
If there's somebody watching this at the moment, maybe they have some free time and they would like to be a volunteer themselves, how do they go about doing that?
Okay, so they go onto our website, www.volunteernow.co.uk, and search for an opportunity. And there's a database that allows you to look for opportunities that are close to you. And so those opportunities are there, and there's a whole range of different things you can be doing and getting involved in. I suppose one of the things I've been observing over the last number of months is that, in the pandemic, we really needed people to do a lot of the practical stuff, maybe shopping or whatever. Over the next few months, I think social isolation and loneliness is going to be a key challenge, particularly in the dark days of winter. And some of those roles are a bit more skilled and they are a bit more long term. And there are organisations right now recruiting for those kinds of roles. So it's just important to look outside and see what else is out there in terms of those opportunities. But they're there and they're on our website even today.
Now, we're going to meet some of the volunteers in just a minute, but in the meantime, Denise, thank you for joining us on the show. So, first up, we're going to talk to Martyn Boyd, who joins us now. Martyn, how are you, sir?
I'm grand, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, Martyn, tell us your story. You've been very busy during the pandemic. You've been delivering prescriptions and groceries to people in your community, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it started out pretty early in the lockdown period. I'm more or less semi-retired and I have time on my hands and I have a motorbike, and it began at about the time in the year when I'd be wanting to be out on the motorbike and using it pretty much more. And I decided to offer my services initially in my local district because I know there are a number of vulnerable people, older people, fairly close around me. I started a little Facebook page called Bangor Community Angels. It's just a name that I came up with. Yeah. People, basically it was like a bulletin board. People would post up on it whenever, if they needed help, and I would respond. And for a few weeks, it was basically me responding to local people's needs on a completely voluntary basis. And then a local newspaper, they got wind of it and they did a little feature the day before they closed down for the lockdown, and they published my phone number, and I got more people inquiring. And then I got a phone call from an organization called the Volunteer Bikers Group, which had just been started by a group of other motorcyclists doing the same thing as me, completely independently of each other. And they asked, do you want to join forces? And I said, yeah, kind of makes sense. And it went from there. And, I was one of just about 200 volunteer motorcycle couriers right across Northern Ireland. We were able to do deliveries of prescription medicines, PPE, small amounts of food, even baby food and Moses baskets to anywhere in Northern Ireland and across the border. We did have missions that crossed into Donegal and Monaghan, and we even did a run of PPE to Dublin. I think about 6 of the guys and girls, went. I wasn't on that one. They went down to Dublin to deliver PPE, but I was involved in an operation that was delivering cartons of PPE from England, and it was relayed up through England into Scotland to Cairnryan, across from the ferry, relayed to me. I then had to use my car because it wouldn't all fit on the motorbike, and relayed to Dungannon, where I met 2 riders, or sorry, 1 rider and 1 guy in a car, and we divided up the subloads, and they then distributed it on to Omagh and Enniskillen and beyond.
So during this time, you must have clocked up many miles.
Personally, I clocked up about 2,500 miles.
Wow.
Mostly I live in Bangor, so that was mostly around the Bangor, Ards, North Down district, 3, 4, 5 times a day, every other day or something, But I did have a few further away. I had one to Newry, one to Bessbrook, Dungannon, and into Belfast a few times,
So where are we now with this group? Does it still exist?
The group, we've gone into abeyance, shall we say. We're kind of ready to do it all over again if necessary. Yeah. Perhaps even better than we did. I have to emphasize, we were a completely standalone group. completely independent. We didn't receive any funding of any sort from anybody. We all paid for our own petrol. We didn't accept money from anyone except by way of donations in lieu of petrol money, and that was all channeled to the Northern Ireland Children's Hospice. I think we were able to raise something like £3,500 or something for them. I don't know the exact figure. But we were completely independent. We received no assistance of any sort from even from the statutory bodies. And we completed about 3,000 deliveries, individual taskings.
And of course, everybody working with you is from a variety of backgrounds. You used to be a photographer, didn't you?
Yes, I was a photographer for about 35 years.
So how did you get involved with the bikes then? You've been doing that for many years, haven't you?
I've been a motorcyclist for just over 40 years. I mean, I got my first motorbike when I got my first job, basically, when I left school at 18. I liked motorbikes. I wasn't particularly into them, but I needed transport to get to and from my first job because by public transport, it was 2 buses and a 1.5 mile walk each way every day. And that was a bit of a pain in the backside. So my dad at the time, I was only 18, my dad didn't like motorbikes, but he bought me a little motorbike and I paid him back. And that was the best thing, personal transport. And I'm not a club biker, I'm an independent kind of rider. I just do my own thing. The only club, if you like, that I'm a member of is Motorcycle Action Group. This is their shirt I'm wearing. Motorcycle Action Group is a UK-wide representative body for motorcyclists. We represent motorcyclist interests. Try to make sure we're not going to be legislated out of existence. We run campaigns and things for the benefit of motorcyclists, and we're very big on road safety, especially with an emphasis on motorcycling. I'm currently running a road safety campaign against the use of a certain kind of crash barrier on our trunk roads, which not only do we believe that it's extremely dangerous to us, but it actually is. It's the types you'll see perhaps on the main trunk roads in Central Reservation. It consists of short steel posts with wire ropes between them. We call them cheese cutters. Because, well, they're designed, if you're in your car and you collide with one in an incident, they're designed to keep your car from going across the road. But a motorcyclist hitting those, it's just disastrous. And they've proved to be disastrous to us. So we're campaigning to get those done away with, basically, But, yeah, I mean, I got into motorcycling out of necessity because I needed independent transport, and it's a lovely way to travel. I commuted by motorbike in all weathers all year round for 25 years.
Wow. So Martyn, great talking to you, and thank you for all the hard work that you and your biker colleagues have done for the members of your community. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Well, it was my civic duty. This is what I believe. It was my civic duty. I was willing and able and capable of doing it, and yeah, I have a sense of civic duty, and so it just had to be done.
Now, Bethany Coulter is a professional singer and a music teacher who got involved with the Oak Healthy Living Centre in Lisnaskea. We'll find out what Bethany got up to. So tell us, Bethany, how you got involved in this project.
So my mum works for the Oak Healthy Living Centre. So when all the stuff with COVID hit, they were looking for a way to go out into the community to find ways to improve people's mental health, have a sense of morale, happiness, give people a way to get outside of their house. So I volunteered to go around and sing and teach people dances to just give them a sense of happiness and get them outside of their houses.
So tell us a bit about your background. You've been a professional singer and a singing teacher for quite a few years now, haven't you?
Yes, I've been singing and teaching music for a couple of years now. I studied an undergraduate in music at Queen's University. So big into music. I play piano, violin, and I sing. So as much as I can use those to help people or teach people, I will.
So how did you find working with everybody? Was it a very rewarding experience?
I would say yes. Not everywhere you went was there big crowds, but everywhere we went, there's always someone who got involved, got engaged, and you got to see people smiling, people getting engaged, happiness, dancing. And for me, who loves dancing and singing and music and that sort of thing, it really brought joy to my heart, being able to see people creatively come together.
And obviously now you're looking forward to a time when you can get back out and performing on stage once again. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think we're looking well into 2021, aren't we?
Yes, I mean it's really disheartening going to like places that normally would have live music and not being able to see people who normally would be doing that, and myself who would normally be out playing or singing and different things like that, where we no longer can. So I really do look forward to the future whenever we can get back to doing that.
Well, Bethany, great talking to you, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Now, last but not least, we're going to go live to Sion Mills, and Geraldine Galloway is a grandmother of 4 and also a volunteer with the Verbal Arts Centre in Londonderry. Geraldine, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So throughout the whole pandemic, like many other people, you've been volunteering. Tell us a bit about the Verbal Arts Centre. For people who don't know, what exactly is it, and how did you get involved?
How did I get involved? I actually was attending an arts class that we would have every week, and a member from the housing executive and a lady from the verbal arts come along and asked then would we be interested in doing or getting involved in a reading rooms, and one of their people would come along on a weekly basis and read the story to us, and we could discuss it, etc., and read a poem and so on. So that we were all sort of about half the group was interested, so I was delighted to hear it. I thought this was going to be something really new. I had stopped reading for quite a while, and I thought maybe this would be a new way back for me through circumstances that was quite traumatic for myself. I lost my daughter, and I just couldn't get focused much on anything. Tried the art, and that was doing pretty good, so I thought this was taking a wee step forward maybe, and it was fantastic. The lady come along every week, Stephanie, and read us stories, and it just opened up so many conversations within the whole group, and we had such an interesting time, some fun and some really serious stories as well, and again, just continued on then. The offer was said, anybody like to take part and maybe, do a course and become a reader volunteer. So I thought, being me, yeah, I'll do that. And went off and done the course, it was about 4 weeks, I think it was. And it was all very interesting. And I loved the idea of the challenge for myself again. And our ladies were just loving it.
Now, the centre is very important because it provides a lifeline to people, doesn't it?
It seriously is, yes. I have to say it's the Sion Mills Forum it's called, and Andy Patton would be the endless worker. Andy runs, he's always trying to be innovative and bring other programs into the hall, and so on. And it's just fantastic. It's really put to good use,
So when the pandemic first struck, did you have to move things to an online basis?
That's it. It just took us right off, obviously. I think it was about the 9th of March, 16th of March, I think was my last reading groups in the hall and at the school for the children. And we then had a few weeks off and so on. And Christine from Verbal Arts, she was contacting me and she was saying, we were thinking about trying to get us something set up over the phone, like a chat, reading to the people over the phone and so on. I was saying there, I says, well, my family, myself, we're all Zooming at the weekend. We were sort of having a family entertaining, like a lot of families were up to it, And my son, he was organising quizzes, and my daughter and so on, and we'd have some fun, bang go. It was hilarious, I have to say. But so we were saying, I says, I think maybe the girls would like that. But anyway, we done the first one just over the phone, and the girls, the ladies, like they were so excited actually to be talking to each other. And they were saying, oh, but you just miss seeing, and so on. So we decided, let's have a go at this soon. And we went and sort of had a good wee look at that and got into it. It took some people a wee while to get onto it, and myself every now and again as well, especially when I was working from my phone.
Yeah.
You know. And so we had a great time. And as I say, it's just continued out, and it was such a lifeline. And as I say, a ray of sunshine seeing the ladies, and you know, they done my heart as much good as hopefully I done them, reading them the stories and having the chats and the carry on and great discussions, you know.
So tell us about some of the stuff that you've been reading recently.
Well, last week's story was The Umbrella Man by Roald Dahl. Yeah. It gave the girls a great opportunity to sort of figure out about meeting, you know, about the personality. The Umbrella Man sort of pushes in, or not pushes in, but introduces himself to a lady in the street. I don't know if you know the story or not. But so the girls are sort of, then you sort of give them some questions. What would you do if somebody come along, a stranger come along and approached you, you know, and so on. So it gets all angles of conversation going, and then they're trying to assess what kind of a character do you think this man, you know, you break it all down as you're going along. So it's really interesting, and then it'll lead into people telling stories of what maybe happened to them, and you know, they're maybe even sometimes in childhood, sometimes last week, or you know, and it lets people explore, you know, their feelings and thoughts and things that maybe they never thought they needed to explore, you know. So it is a very great way, I think, of allowing people to have a conversation and then to share it with others and let others maybe learn a bit as well from it, you know.
Well, Geraldine, it looks like you're having a great time with the group. The very best of luck with it, and thank you for joining us. Thank you. Now, for more information on volunteering, you can check out the website, which is www.volunteernow.co.uk.